Welcome to Dan Really Likes Wine. One of the first parts of the winelands I properly explored was Franschhoek. One of my early visits out when I was a student at the University of Cape Town included a visit to La Motte. That's where I bought some of the very first wine I invested in. It meant I didn't buy some of the textbooks I was supposed to buy, but I think I made the right choice. I get back to Franschhoek as often as I can, and I was down a few weeks ago and dropped in on some of my favourite estates, and I've got 4 wines this week that pay tribute to the rich wine heritage of the Huguenot Valley. And the first of those is a wine from an estate you'll probably know, but you might not be quite so familiar with this particular wine. Boekenhoutskloof make the chocolate block, which is poured out in gallons around the world. They also make the Boekenhoutskloof Syrah, which has a fair claim to be one of the finest wines made in the Franschhoek Valley. The Wolf Trap, which also sells in vast volumes, is a very, very nice entry-level wine, but I thought I'd go with something a little different. Also from Boekenhoutskloof, their Semillon. So Semillon, like Viognier, one of the more bespoke white varietals, one I think is very pleasant to drink on its own. It's not overly heavy in alcohol, this is 13%, it's very light in colour, but it's 4 years old, which I think is a really good aging time for a quality Semillon. And if it's Boekenhoutskloof, you can be pretty much assured that quality is what you're getting. I thought that would be rather nice. It's extremely nice. It's very, very smooth. It's incredibly rich. Oh, it's like when you eat a big mouthful of whipped cream, that real rich, soft smoothness to it that says, whew, I can feel that, but I really, really do like it. Loved for their reds. I think this is a really, really nice creation from the team at Boekenhoutskloof, and it's just the right age as well. 4-year-old Semillon, made at a great estate. That drinks very nicely indeed. Then on to Morisson. The first time I went Morisson, it wasn't to try their wine, it was to eat at Bread and Wine, which is their exceptional restaurant. Now you can eat there, chances are that if you haven't booked your battle to get in, what they do have is a great little outdoor area. Get some charcuterie and a couple of glasses of wine, and it's a very, very nice way to spend an afternoon. And if one of those glasses includes this, then you're in for a treat, because their Mercator Chardonnay, as the sticker would suggest, has a 5-star award that's well deserved. In recent years, Franschhoek's claims to fame are many, from Ruben and Margot to the great chefs in South Africa, Le Quartier Français, Le Pionnier Maison, some of the finest restaurants we have in the country and indeed beyond, some of the cool places to visit like the Motor Museum out at Lomara, one of the great cricket fields in South Africa at Grootdruk, very laid back, and a lovely place to play cricket. But it's the vineyards that time and again get so much attention. And Morisson are only adding to that legacy. I had this Chardonnay when I was down there a few weeks ago. I left with several cases of it under my arm, and with good reason. It's a lovely, lovely Chardonnay. I'm a sucker for a good Chardonnay, and I'm absolutely hopeless when it comes to an excellent one. And where that Semillon had that richness and that creaminess, this has the same, but just that bit of wood to it and that bit of smoke and that slightly more mysterious allure to it. It's a glorious, glorious mouthful of wine. The first one is more elegant. This is bigger, it's bolder, it's a little bit noisier, but without losing that finesse. And if that combination needs a little more explanation, well, get yourself a bottle, try it, and I think you'll find where I'm headed. This is gorgeous. Oh, from the whites to the reds and Allée Bleue. This is as you come into Franschhoek. On the left, one of the very first estates. I've been out there a number of times. The first time was just after its then new German owners had purchased it, and they brought a dazzling Johann Strauss in by helicopter to host the welcome. The last time I was there to have a look at it as a possible wedding venue, so that is going back a few years, but I've had a reasonable amount of their wine since then, and it's always been lovely. It's maybe not one of the rock stars of South African wine, but it delivers very solid, very nice wine on a regular basis, and this, their 2012 Shiraz, 5 years to settle and warm up for a tasting on the show. So there's a lot to Allée Bleue. You can get married there. It's superb for picnics. It's a fun place to go and visit. Lovely for a day out, as so much of the winelands is. And when it's accompanied by some wine of high caliber, then the appeal is only increased. This is the Allée Bleue Shiraz, and just by the nose, it's very alluring indeed. Lovely colour, nice and rich and wonderfully decadent. Chapeau, very good indeed. Nice example of a Shiraz, that spike of spice, that spike on the palate, but that is underlaid by a nice smooth velvety wine. It drinks very simply. It's a nice addition. You're going through Franschhoek, Allée Bleue is a good place to drop off at, and if you're at Allée Bleue, Shiraz, especially on a winter's day, you could certainly do a lot worse than this. And then to a name that's been in the food and wine media a lot of late, but for the food rather than the wine. Maison, the restaurant, in the top 10 yet again in the Eat Out Restaurant Awards, and the food is exceptional. I had a very long lunch, and if you want to know how good the lunch was, I arrived at 1 o'clock and we left at 10 to 7, and that was only because we had to get to dinner. It wasn't entirely my fault. We were celebrating the engagement of Cameron van der Berg, and we also had my friends Richard Rushton from Distel and Michael Jordan, who potters barefoot about his little winery in the Franschhoek Valley, who were there as well, and they are both extremely bad influences. We had a wonderful, wonderful lunch. The food was great, but it was the wine that for me really stood out more so than I was anticipating. I hadn't really had any Maison wine before that. We had a delightful Chenin Blanc, a really, really good Chardonnay, and then this, their Shiraz, which really caught the eye. So probably the first thing you'll notice about this bottle is the minimalism. I love the design. It is so basic, and yet they pull it off extremely well. The black and white, it tells you what it is, and that's all the information you need to know. There's a little bit more on the back, but it's a very unflummoxed and relaxed approach to the labelling, and it's pretty much what they do with the wine as well. And that's lovely. It's actually a year younger than the previous Shiraz, but it feels slightly smoother and slightly older. There's still the slightly spicy edge, very smooth, a little bit of smoke to it, and a really nice full Shiraz, but it's not too heavy. You'll get some Shiraz that you really feel you need to keep this for a lamb shank in winter and not much else. This I can see myself drinking in summer. In fact, I know I can drink it in summer because I had rather a lot of it a few weeks ago, and very, very happily so. And that's just a glimpse of what you'll find in the Franschhoek Valley. Some wonderful estates, some wonderful wine, and one of the most beautiful places in the world to visit. Cheers.